Welcome back to the Smugglers Den. I'm your host, Tiny Grimes, and I'm here with nobody else. It's just me. This week I'm going to do a tournament report on the Faltering Allegiances release event that just happened, talk a little bit about where Destiny is at right now, and talk a little bit about how I'm feeling about the game and my intentions. So I guess let's start there. To be perfectly honest, I am totally surprised to be making another episode of the Smugglers Den. I thought maybe my last episode where I interviewed Agent of Zion would sort of be my last one for a little while, and I would just play around with the game here and there, see if I still enjoy it. Turns out, I'm really enjoying this new meta. It feels a lot closer to an Awakening style meta than like a Spirit of Rebellion meta. There's just not that much action cheating and special chaining and all the things that I didn't like about the game. There just aren't that much of. It's more of I roll out, you roll out, play some removals, try to outmaneuver your opponent. At least that's what I've been finding. It may be because the decks aren't fully found out yet, and maybe that people were sick of the overpowered decks and trying out the new stuff. But in the last couple of weeks that I've been playing all kinds of fun, wild, crazy stuff, trying to figure things out, and having a really good time with it. Let me run down a few decks that I tried. Let's see. I tried the Big Luke. I tried him with a couple different things. I've been trying him with a red partner to get feet going. I don't remember the second part of the name, but essentially this. If it can remove more than one die, it feels super strong. So like Marauders, I tried to do a double light side Marauder deck so with red so that I could run the best defense for the villain removal as my two villain cards, and then also run Flee to double remove for yellow. And so then I had 4 double removal spells. Oh, also I was playing Rescue Han because why not? Turns out that deck was a pile of garbage. Not surprisingly, if you just think about all those sides and all the dollars you need to run them. And by the way, I was running Scoundrels with it so I could play Change of Plans. Bottom line, though, is I've been really having a lot of fun experimenting, having a good time with the game, and I just don't feel like the game is in a spot where it's totally overpowered and making me feel like, this just isn't the Destiny I fell in love with. This really is the Destiny I fell in love with. So that part has been incredibly shocking for me. So let's talk about the big news then. The Faltering Allegiances. Well, Faltering Allegiances has arrived. I was a bit wrong on my initial take on the set. I said, I don't think there's that many really overtly powerful cards. Many of the power is in a more niche setting. And I still agree with that to a degree. But there actually are quite a few powerful cards, I think, that are really changing the game. We saw in that tournament, in the release tournament, a Terran deck won. He is not a card it was even on my radar. Cal whatever's lightsaber is freaking awesome. Apparently, I don't know how to read because that card is amazing. You roll it in, it's a shield. You get to just roll in another copy of it now and then re-roll it and get 2 melee sides. Like, that card is really strong and really cool and well designed. I like it a lot. There's a lot of cool new stuff happening. Joe, honestly sarcastic, did really well with the new droid guy. Grease, the guy that lets you, forgetting her name, the Night Sister that let you flip stuff off the top of your deck. But we're back with the flipping stuff off the top of the deck. Joe ran a deck where it's just all ones, which is perfect, right? That's all the removal and a couple more expensive cards. I foolishly went for the wrong guy. I went for 3PO first because he seemed strong, and R2D2 meleeed me to oblivion. It was amazing. So well done there, Joe. But I had a lot of fun. I played against a whole wide variety of decks. I'd like to share the deck that I played. I think it's really interesting. This deck is not just under the radar, it is off the radar. And it's so good that I almost didn't bring it because it felt unfair. So I don't know if it's just my perceptions are really off or not. My partner that I tested with Platform also brought it. We both went 4-2. I finished 18th. Two people dropped, making me eligible to make the cut, which was really cool. So I like made the cut, I guess. I don't know. I can't in good conscience say I made the cut. I was offered a spot in the cut. Unfortunately, it had already been a long day, and I was okay, I'm gonna be honest here. I was only intending to play 3 rounds. I told my family, I'm only playing 3 rounds. Don't worry. I just want to support this effort. I'm having fun with the game, and then I was just having so much fun and winning that I was just like, I'm gonna play the whole tournament. And I went 4-2, and then after that, I just had to go. Like I got texts while I was on a bike ride with my daughter, like, "Hey, you want to be in the cut?" And I was like, I could play 1 round, but I can't commit to like another 5 hours. All right, so the bottom line is this deck is very powerful. Closing in itself is a really strong card, and anytime you can make a decent deck with this card, it's going to be pretty nutso. It basically says you do melee damage. Sorry, you do damage to somebody. You put this on them, and then before they can even untap, not they have to pay you $1 to untap, they have to take an action to pay the $1 to be able to untap it, and they have to pay it to you, right? So you're paying nothing. You're getting $1 every turn and slowing them down. It's really strong. And if you can hit them just right with, say, like, if we look at our friend Dengar here, he does have that disrupt side, and you're rolling 2 out. There's that chance that they could get stuck not even activating something. I've seen that happen in several of my test games. So this card is really strong, and then because it's 2 bounty hunters, they come, you're able to run it. You get 2 really strong bounty hunters. Their sides aren't amazing, but you get things like the totally broken pulse cannon. You get things like the very, very strong vibro sword, which, by the way, has redeploy, so you get to move it around. Gauntlet rockets is really good. The Pitar is really good. So in other words, you're getting all of these amazing weapons on really good guys. And we haven't even talked about what this deck is about, which is the bounties. And the bounties do all kinds of cool stuff, like Death Mark is after the character is defeated, you draw 3 cards. Dead or Alive, they have to pay 1 to activate. Wanted is you gain 2 resources. And while that sounds great, and it is, it's cool, what's even better is that we have cards that work well with it. So we have Hunt Them Down, which basically says you get to increase your damage. So you roll in a Vibro Sword because you're running uniques that are elite. You roll the 1 side, it's a 3. You up it by 3 more, you resolve the 1 die for 6, and your opponent is not entirely ready for that. Even better, not Desperate Measures, sorry. Dangerous Escape says, discard all downgrades on a character, then deal damage to that character equal to the number of downgrades discarded. So you might be kind of like, that's fine, you do 3 damage, but then all your bounties go away. But that is not true, because you apparently haven't read Forlam, who says, after a bounty is discarded, you get it back! So you end up with these really cool plays where you're like, Dangerous Escape them, they all come back to your hand, now you get to like replay them to the other guy maybe, or you can even just use them to reroll. Like, you have all these amazing options. The deck just churns out damage. It is very hard to deal with because it does a whole bunch of surprise damage out of hand. The problem I found was the build I was running was just a hair short on removal, and it still is. Bounty Averted is maybe like one of the top cards released in the set if you like bounty hunters, because again, it's going with the bounties, and it lets you remove up to 3 dice from a character that rolled in if you have bounties on them. So both of the games I lost, I went 4-2, and even the game against Joe, I had like 8 cards in deck, I think like 9 cards, discarded my hand, and if I draw Bounty Averted, I win in both games. Because they roll in, I just take all their dice, and then I kill them. And in both games, I did not draw a single removal and lost. And that was super annoying, and it makes me think that the deck is probably like 1 removal short, but there aren't that many options. I had a dodge during the tournament. I switched that to a block since then because dodge just, it's not it's not great with the meta. I thought it would be. I didn't know the meta as well at that point. Now I think block would be substantially better. But yeah, the deck seems very strong. Not just strong, but like very strong, and is totally off the radar. I've seen nobody talking about this deck. Only Platform and I were the only two people in the whole tournament of 100 people to run this deck. And I seriously almost didn't run it because I felt bad and thought it was too good for a release event. So I don't know what that means. I'm very curious to hear what you all out there think. Am I just out of my mind? This deck's not that good. It's a chance that it really just shined in that moment. I don't know, but I would love to have seen it against the deck that won. I felt like this deck looked like a stronger deck. So I haven't actually tested it since the event. Just I've been messing around with a million terrible decks, just trying out everything and anything, and having a lot of fun doing it. But if there's another event, I'll certainly get back to this deck and really try to streamline it. But if anyone wants to take this to an event, go for it. I really think that this is one of the best decks around. Okay, so that's the deck. The tournament went quite well. I started out 2-0. And then I lost the next two games. Like I said, both games just not drawing removal on that last turn, even though, digging hard for it. So that was a frustrating moment, right? So I dropped to 2-2, and then I won the last two. So I was really happy, actually. If I was going to lose two games in a salty way, I'm glad they were in the middle. It's always terrible when you're like trying to make the cut and you lose the last game of the day in a salty fashion like that. So. But I really did have a great time. Played a wide variety of decks. Played a lot of fun opponents. TTS I've been liking more. You want to know my secret? Here's my secret. The secret is scale up the dice. They're too small. Like I know you can hover over them and zoom in on them and kind of squint out what they are. That's fine. But I really miss having the dice in front of me where I can just at a glance clearly see them all. And scaling up the dice works for me. So don't be afraid to try it if you haven't yet. Yes, people will mock you. They will say you have cataracts. I am well aware of that. But you know what? I'd rather see the dice in front of me and be mocked than not see the dice in front of me and lose. All right. So that was the tournament. Really good time. I enjoyed myself immensely. So... next thing I want to talk about is the community. I don't understand what is happening right now. I'm just going to start there. I have no personal love for this what are they called? A Renewed Hope Committee and the work that they're doing. I just think that they have really done a remarkable job reaching out to everyone, trying to include as many people as they can in this project, being really transparent about it, working really diligently to put out cards that seem quite reasonable and balanced. And what I'm not understanding is why there is this massive rush by all these different groups to be like, no, we are the group. It's like, you're not, okay? You're just not. You can't just say we are the group and not have reached out to everyone and tried to include everyone. And it seems so petty and reactionary. They put out this set and then bunches of groups well, we're working on stuff. It's that's great. I'm happy you're working on stuff. And I have no problem if people want to in their local community Facebook groups try out new stuff. I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome to reach out to this committee and say, hey, I'm super psyched also about keeping the game going. I want to work with you all. What can I do? I think that's great. I don't understand this desire to try to compete in the way that some of these groups are doing. The Parker Simpson Aegis set, that's cool. That's a separate thing. That's just some people getting together saying, I want to support a charitable cause. I made a draft set. Like it, don't like it, use it, don't. It's here. I think it's going to be fun. I think that's cool, right? Like that's a really neat thing to do. Groups that are saying we are the continuing committee, and then there's like no information. They clearly have not thought this very far along. Just hold off, okay? This is just my suggestion. If you just want to be the group that is doing this at all costs, then I guess slog ahead, right? But if your goal is to keep Destiny alive because you love Destiny, we have a group doing that. That's really the bottom line. I think you need to reach out to that community, figure out how you can work with them. If they drop the ball and they can't make this happen, that's a different scenario, right? Then in a year, you can swoop in as the hero who saved the day and take that year. Put some awesome stuff together. There's no reason to rush out stuff that you're going to do, right? Like a preview. Don't do that. I don't know how to say it any differently. This doesn't work. You can't split the community and have 4 different standard sets. Like, there has to be a real push by the community to just have one group moving this forward. And the reason that I supported this group is not, like I said, it's not because of the people involved. It's because of the breadth of the outreach that they did to really try to include as many people as possible. But I'm sure some people were like, they reached out to them and they had a conversation, it didn't go well, and they said, no, I'm going to do my own thing. That's fine. Make some cards. Have some fun. But I really, really just can't stress this enough. It is not going to help the game to have competing groups claiming to be the group continuing Destiny. That's not going to work. One of them is going to end up being the primary one anyway, and all it's going to do is hurt the unity of the community. So, if you are running a continuing group, or you were considering it, just please take this advice. Just hold off. Let's put our support behind the group that has done a really remarkable job, hosted a 100-person event. By the way, smooth. I have played in a ton of out-of-client events. That is the smoothest one I have ever played in, and that is not an exaggeration. Hearthstone, every single one was a nightmare. Everyone. Legends of Runeterra, they are run really well, but there's like 6 different sites you have to interact with during a tournament, which is way too many and is very burdensome. This event was run so smooth, I was shocked. I'm going to be honest. I was pretty much expecting it to be a train wreck because it's 100 people, and this community is not really used to running 100-person events. In fact, no Destiny communities, because that doesn't happen in Destiny traditionally. But it was run really smoothly. This group is really putting everything they have into this. I've talked to enough of the members that I know what's going on here. This is not just a couple people being like, yeah, I want the glory, right? This is really people who are very serious about this and really want to make this work. So let's support them. Don't divide the community. Unify around this group. And like I said, that doesn't mean we can't provide feedback and critical feedback. That is part of the process, right? That will help them improve. But what won't help is to have like 4 groups touting themselves as the continuing community, and then someone wants to play Destiny and they type in Star Wars Destiny and there's like 4 web pages. We are Star Wars Destiny. No, we are Star Wars Destiny. That is not going to work. All right. So bottom line today, played in the tournament, top 18, made the cut, had a great time. I think Destiny is actually in a good spot. All I know is this. From a personal standpoint, I want to play more Destiny. Every single day I wake up and I'm like, I want to play some Destiny. The problem is, this is what I love about Destiny, it demands my attention, right? That's what I've always loved about Destiny. But at this point, my attention is pulled in many directions at once, and it is very hard for me to carve out time for even one game in a day to play. But I'm doing my best, and I'm really, really liking where it is at. And my plan is next week to come at you with another episode of the Smugglers Den, and this one's going to be slightly different. I actually received a whole bunch of insightful questions from, I think it's Cecil. It might be Cecil. I'm going to go with Cecil Miller with the I Rebel website, who wanted to, interview me. And then he posted up a cool article. And there were so many more questions that didn't get answered. Like they were very in-depth and good questions. So I think it would be insightful and interesting for me to just go ahead and like do a mock interview. We'll pretend Cecil is here asking the questions, and then I'll answer them. So that'll be next time on the Smugglers Den. And until then, I think you know what you should do. Keep smuggling. Keep smuggling.